Hey, it's the Profit Answer Man, Rocky Lalvani. If you're new to the podcast, check out my interview with Mike Michalowicz. It's episode number 2. If you want to hear about each chapter in the Profit First book, go back and listen to episodes 3 through 13. Episode 1 is the why and how. On the Profit Answer Man, we learn money mastery without all the complicated accounting mumbo-jumbo using a simple system. Your accountant is busy documenting your transactions and creating a rearview mirror of what happened. My guess is you don't even look at the reports they sent you. If you're like most business owners, you struggle with this, and it's not your fault. We aren't taught money in school, and accountants aren't taught how to be profitable. The Profit First system created by Mike Michalowicz works, and he certified me to help you implement the system in your business. Remember, the new equation is sales minus profit equals expenses. Let's face it, without cash flow, you can't pay your employees, buy needed materials, or pay your mortgage and support your family. I help you to do that and more, so you can focus on the parts of the business you love and receive the rewards for your labor and investment into your business. The stronger you are as a business owner, the more jobs you create, the better we are as a country. Small business owners are the backbone of America, and for that, you deserve to be well rewarded. Just remember, more revenue does not equal more profit. That's why we focus on the bottom line. It's funny, as I create projections for 2022 for all my clients, they are all super profitable. However, that's what we call spreadsheet profit. Then reality sets in. Some can actually beat the numbers projected. Some can't. If you don't even have a projection for 2022, then how will you measure your success? Or know that you are on track or not on track and need to do something different? We know the spreadsheet will never be accurate, but it does allow us a target to measure against. Today's title is Solopreneur, but Solopreneur doesn't mean you can't have employees. These principles apply to solo owners and even those with partners and to all business owners. However, when we get to the retirement section of our talk today, some of the numbers and programs may be different for you depending on how your business is treated as a legal entity. I've always believed you have to find harmony and fit with your life and business, and that includes a multitude of areas. Too many people put everything into their business, and then they neglect themselves, their family, and their financial future. Today, we're going to touch on that and how you can have it all. But first, you have to decide, what is all to you? That's the big question. What does it look like for you? Our guest is going to help with that. Gabe Nelson is a certified financial planner, professional, and founder of Gabe Nelson Financial, a registered investment advisory firm that offers fee-based financial planning and investment advisory services to solopreneurs and self-employed professionals throughout the United States. After earning his Bachelor of Science in Economics from South Dakota State University, Gabe immediately entered into the financial services industry. He's been featured in a Forbes article and hosts his podcast, The Solopreneur Money. Gabe lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, with his wife and 3 daughters. Let's meet Gabe. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Gabe Nelson. It's great to have you join us today.
Thanks, Rocky. I am excited to be here.
As am I. So, can you share a little bit about yourself and your business?
I am a practicing financial advisor. I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I've got a financial advisory firm, a completely independent advisory firm, very originally named Gabe Nelson Financial Incorporated. And I serve solopreneurs where I help them master their finances so they can create the lives they want. And a little more about myself. I got 3 daughters. My wife and I have been married for, it's 27 years this coming summer. And it's been, frankly, been a great life.
That's always nice to hear. So how long ago did you start the business?
I started right out of college, 23 years of age. I came into the industry. It was more in the insurance side of the game. And then I worked my way into the financial advisory industry because I realized the insurance thing wasn't exactly the right fit. And I felt much better in the financial advisory side of the game instead.
And you got to find the right fit with your business because otherwise you won't last 20 something years, 27, however many years you've been at it. It's when you find the right fit, work becomes fun.
100% agree. Yes.
So how did you learn about Profit first?
I learned about Profit first a couple years ago. I was actually, I can't remember if I was doing some networking on LinkedIn or just looking for new books. And long story short, I discovered the book Profit First. And so I ordered it and just added it to my reading list. And I sat down and was reading through it. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. It seems like a fantastic system for small business owners to follow, to help them solve that problem of what am I supposed to do with this money and how do I make sure that I really do have profit so that I actually can have a sustainable business and a life that I set out to form when I started this darn thing.
That's the part most people forget about life. They're so busy in their business, they forget we have to live life as well. So as you were going through it, you actually had an aha moment, which is kind of the same aha moment I had because I've done the same thing. You realized you've been doing this since you got out of college.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. The crazy thing is my wife and I, we got married right out of college. So I mean, literally graduated college May 10th, June 10th, we were married a month later. And I went right into the insurance industry and basically was a, straight up commission type person immediately. And the first thing we did was set up multiple checking accounts so that we would be able to handle the tax burden that was going to come our way. And then what happened is over time, we started to add additional accounts for travel, for, additional investing or additional things. And so I'm going through the book, I'm going, I've been doing this ever since I was 23 years old. So this no wonder this makes sense to me. So.
And it worked. When you give money a purpose and a job and you let it do its job and don't steal it, it's amazing what happens over time. It flows to where it's supposed to, and it really takes a lot of the anxiety out of it. So you were pretty smart because most business owners don't set aside money from taxes for day one. What prompted that?
I'm not 100% sure. I just know. I mean, I'll give the credit to my wife because I married in way over my head. and so I really honestly think we just sat down and we started planning out, okay, here's what's going to happen. Here's what we're going to do. And I don't remember if it was her or if it was me. So we'll just give her the credit. We better set some money aside for taxes, Gabe, so we don't have a surprise come tax time. And so it was immediate right in the beginning. And it's just always been that way. We've always had a few extra accounts. I don't have 8, but we subscribe to having pockets of money. And I love the way you just said that. When you give money a purpose and let it do its thing, it's amazing what it does. And we've been doing that for years.
Clearly, the system works, and it works a lot longer than the book has been out. Mike took the concepts and he made it understandable for everyone else, but there was many of people who've been doing this even before when they were smart enough to do so. So you've got a new book that just came out today, the Solopreneur's Money Manifesto book. Mm-hmm. Share a little bit. Why the book?
Well, the simple reason why the book is here about 3 or 4 years ago, I sat down and I analyzed my client list. I'm a practicing financial advisor. I started my own firm. I left the firm I was with before August 1st of 2008. And I built up this practice. Yeah, I know.
That's a perfect day, right?
Oh, man. Well, a perfect day might have been March 6th of 2009. That might have been an even better day because then the market's done nothing but continue to go up for the most part. But so I started this firm August 1st of 2008. 45 days later, Lehman goes bankrupt, and I hold on for dear life to just keep this business afloat, and ended up letting staff go and just pretty much just figuring out how to run this thing myself. Fast forward all the way up to about 2018 and 2017, 2018, I start getting kind of bored. Like I've built it up, I've got it running. I start getting kind of bored, and I sat back and I thought, who do I really want to work with? Who do I have the most fun with? And who do I want to work with for the rest of my career? I literally in December turned 50. So I still have a decent runway and am trying to figure out who I want to spend my time with. So here I am 3-4 years ago. I laid out my client list, which is something I would advise any one of your listeners to do, is think about who you want to work with. And I laid out my client list, and I started just listing who I had the most fun with. And then I listed next, what do? They were all small business owners. And then what kind of small business owners? And it came all the way down that they were all what I called solo business owners at the time. And about that time, I started learning the word solopreneur. And that, the combination of solo and entrepreneur, becomes solopreneur. And so I sat back and I thought, what's going to be the best way for me to continue to market and to be a voice of reason, maybe a voice of authority and a voice of leadership or a voice of guiding someone. It's not proper grammar, but a voice of leadership for someone in this financial world for that type of client. And so I started thinking about how could I do that? And that's how the book came about. This is my favorite people to work with. Why don't I write a book and tell the story about how I help those people and how they could then take the principles in the book and the guidance in the book to actually learn how to do it themselves if that's what they so chose to do.
And it's really important to have a niche, because then you can be the expert in the niche. And I don't know, are there any other books for money and solopreneurs?
Very few.
Very few.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's a couple. Yep.
There's a couple, and it's a very big niche in the sense that there are many solopreneurs out there. So definitely from that standpoint, it works. You've got a decent sized market. These are the types of things that we all need to think about as we build our businesses and we target clients. Is who do we want to work with and have fun with? Is there a market there? Do they need the help that I'm willing to offer? Are they willing to pay me to do that? When you start to figure out how these blocks come together, it's a lot more fun and it's a lot easier.
Yes, 100%. And I'm gonna take a sidestep with it for a little bit. The Enneagram. We read about the Enneagram during the COVID time period where we're all sitting at home, kind of figuring out what are we going to do next. And so I got a hold of the book, The Enneagram. Actually, my wife got a hold of it. She read it, handed it over to me, and said, "You need to read this." And so I read the book, and then we had a family conversation of what numbers we are. And I am a straight 7, which is all about fun. And it comes back around with, I want to know, who am I going to have the most fun with? Am I going to do a great job? Yes. Am I going to really help these people? Yes. Are the right people going to be able to pay me to do what I do? Yes. But am I going to have fun doing it? And the answer is yes. And if I'm going to have fun, I'm all in. It's going to be a great time.
And part of it is understanding yourself. And that was one of the things I struggled with, because my original thought was all business owners understood business. And I came to realize, oh no, most business owners don't understand business. They understand what they love, and accounting is not at the top of that list.
No, and the other thing is, Rocky, and just to add on to that is there's a ton of accidental entrepreneurs and accidental business owners out there. They didn't set out to be a business owner. They actually set out to do this really good. And guess what? They turned into be a business. And then you're right. They don't understand how to run a business. They don't understand how to do their books. You're 100% right.
So let's talk a little bit about the book. What is the main message? I know chapter 1 is vision. That's one of the things I talk to all my businesses about is when you know where you're going and you've got a clear target. Not only that, A, it's easier to get there, but B, you hire the right kind of people because they're the kind of people you want to be with and the kind of people that you work with. Love to hear your insights.
Well, the vision and the whole premise of the book is so that you can get an understanding of, yes, what is your vision? Where do you want your life to be? And then how do you take and build your business and your finances to support the life that you want? And so that's why in the book, I have many examples and stories of things that help you to understand that. And there's even a piece in the book called the life wheel. And this life wheel is an assessment of where you are with your life in all areas that you assess yourself to get a feel for, am I going where I want to go with my life? And then how do I take this business that I'm operating as a solopreneur and the finances that I'm making, revenues I'm making, expenses I'm spending, the things that go with the finances, how do I combine the business and the finances to support this life that I have and that I want so that it can help propel me to that vision of where I'm going or want to go?
And that's important to put them all together and to come up with a plan for that. I was looking at one of the chapters and you talked about cash flow and you talked about the plumber and the fact that he needed money up front to pay things. And part of the problem is he wasn't billing correctly. And I got to tell you, the HVAC guy came out because one of my rentals needed repairs. Super nice guy, shows up the day before Thanksgiving, takes care of it. 2 weeks later, I'm like, dude, where's the bill? He's like, oh, I forgot to send it later. I'm like, I want you to be in business. and it's clear that he hates doing billing. Any other insights into that? What you've seen with people?
Oh, I'll give you another example. Years ago, a house before this one, we had some hardwood floors put in, beautiful hardwood floors. And the guy never billed us. Never billed us for his work. We had the money sitting there. We were ready to go, ready to pay it. We're like, hey, can you send us a bill? Never sent us a bill. And the unfortunate thing is business owners get so busy, small business owners, especially like trades people, they get so busy that they don't focus on that piece. And then what happens, and I'll use this plumber as the example, he gets behind. And then when he gets behind, he can't catch up. And then when someone comes along like me and says, you know what, you really need to start delegating some of this stuff so you can get this done or you're going to be out of business. He is at a point where he can't even see through that level to get him there. So what I would advise you listeners is get your cash flow figured out. If you can't figure it out, find somebody to help you figure it out so that you can start to set aside funds to delegate that to your CPA, your accountant, your bookkeeper, your professional, your whoever who can then start to manage that cash flow for you and send those bills out. Because if what you're really good at is doing X and Y, meaning sending out your invoices, doesn't work good, figure out a way to get that done by somebody else so that you can go do what you do and continue to make money. Because that cash flow is the king for everything.
And honestly, in the trades business like that, I would literally have, I don't care if it's paper or a notebook, don't even leave the site without taking payment. Like, why do you want to be a bank and loan people money? If they're willing to cut you a check at the end of the day, right then and there, or you have a swipe reader on your cell phone, grab the money immediately while you can. Don't wait, because the longer you wait, the less likely you are to get paid. And there's two parts to that. One, they forget the bill, they don't get paid. Part two, everyone has got that one client, hopefully not more, that stuck them. And that also hurts. That really hits the bottom line hard. Any other financial advice?
Oh boy, that's a huge question.
I like that because it really opens the door to see different perspectives. If I winnow it down to a small thing, then I'm going to get what I'm looking for and not what you see from your viewpoint.
Oh boy. Well, here's what I'll do. I will start with the basics. The basics is once you start to get an understanding of what your cash flow is, then start to get an emergency fund set up. Get 6 to 12 months, especially for solopreneurs, because the business that you are running is supporting your life. And so what you need to do is get yourself 6 to 12 months of living expenses set aside so that you can weather storms. But then that also starts to allow you freedom. And then that freedom starts to allow you to do things like reduce your debt, like set money aside for retirement, like set money aside for your kids to go to college, set money aside to go on a vacation. A lot of you solopreneurs that are listening and small business owners haven't had a vacation in years. Set aside money to go on vacation. That's where this whole profit first even kind of ties back in. It's money set aside with a purpose to do its thing. So I would say, get your cash flow figured out. My next piece of financial advice is get some savings. Start building then your, for lack of it, put it, your financial plan and your finances up so that you can then start to see the horizon of being able to retire on your terms rather than someone else's terms. And so those are the simple pieces of advice that I could share with you that someone could then take and put into place immediately.
And so that's what we do from their profit account. First thing we do is work towards getting rid of debt. The next thing we do is, and it automatically happens in the profit account, is build up the reserve funds because we are all going to have emergencies at every size of company. Disney had to close its doors for months, right? That hurt them badly. I know I'm a Disney stockholder. I saw my shares tank. Every business has that. So when you have cash, you can breathe. And when you can breathe, you can think and pivot because you're all smart people. You know how to do this, but you need to be able to breathe first. And so that's what it does. And then the other thing that we talk to business owners about is remove the money from your business, put it somewhere else to create multiple streams of income, whether it's through investing, which I know you do a lot of. I tell my people, go invest, go buy real estate, go buy another business, go do something different because the world keeps changing. Technology changes. Everything changes. And so you need to have those extra streams of income because it comes back to sleeping at night.
That's exactly true. I mean, especially the sleeping at night is what this whole idea of planning is and spreading your money around and investing and to repeat myself, planning. It allows you to sleep at night.
That it does. So beyond money, what does the book talk about?
Beyond money, it talks about your life and where do you want your life to go. It talks about getting an understanding of a vision, which we talked about a little bit, but it also starts to talk about habits. I mean, what are the habits that you need to put in place on a daily basis to get you towards that vision? And so the book talks about things like that outside of money. And I even include a case study so that you can then follow along an actual client, names are changed, fictionalized a little bit, to be able to then follow along to see how that can then apply to you with life as well as money.
So if somebody wants to implement all of this, like, can I do it this weekend and by next week it's all perfect and done?
No. But you can read the book in a weekend. If you're a fast reader, which I am not, you could probably read the book in a weekend because it's not a humongous book and it's a nice, easy, story-filled how-to guide. But what you can do is you can get started within a week. You can take the first step. And my advice always is for anything, for any small business owners, is when you're starting to make changes, just take one step. It doesn't have to be perfect action. Take imperfect action and start to adjust as you go. So no, this is a lifelong thing. Everybody reaches mastery at a different time, but what mastery really is just the continuously working on the craft and continuously learning from the mistakes and then not making them again and getting better.
And I think that is a big part of business, is making mistakes, because mistakes isn't so much that you did something, well, it falls in two categories. There's mistakes where you do stupid and you pay the stupid tax. And then there's mistakes where you're trying new things out. And that's probably better to be called experimentation. You know, try different things, try out different markets, try out different products to see, hey, what is the market going to do and how is it going to react? Because if you're making more of the same, you're just a me too. You're not going to separate yourself from the crowd. When you can do something dramatically different, that's where money is made. That's where big, big money is made. But nobody comes up with the perfect product on day one, right? The first round. I know there's all these people with billion-dollar ideas who've never sold anything. It comes through just constantly start and then kind of keep pivoting. I mean, Netflix was a pivot. All of these companies have been pivots over the years. They start with one thing, they see it doesn't work exactly. They keep reading the market. Uber was a pivot. You know, people don't realize that. All of these companies are pivoting. They come out in the market and then they keep changing and making themselves better. And our life is much the same.
I would agree. Mm-hmm.
Any other big messages that you would like to share from the book today?
I'd say the other big message from the book is you actually can do this yourself. You can actually take the principles in the book. You can take the case study. You can then walk yourself through that. But if you get down to the end and you fit one of three things, which happens a lot. One, you really don't want to do it. Two, you don't have time to do it. Or three, you don't trust yourself to do it, which a lot of solopreneurs and small business owners fall into that. One, they're too busy. Two, they don't know how. Or three, they don't trust themselves. Then that's your key to reach out, whether it's to me or any other financial advisor. Now you have a basis on how to do the things financially to set your life up the way you would like your life to be. And that's what the whole tagline of the book is how to master your finances to create the life you want.
And that's what it is. It's the harmony between life and money and everything else and bringing it all together. And one of the big things that I talk about, especially with talking to the financial planners and also talking to the CPAs, is to do your tax planning. You know, everyone wants a tax deduction. One of the best tax deductions is to pay yourself in retirement savings. Because A, you get to keep the money. Wow. And you get the tax deduction from the government. And for solopreneurs, they're allowed to put away, I think, what is it, up to $60-something thousand a year almost tax free. And that is a big chunk off of your profit line that saves you a ton of money. Because for a solopreneur, chances are, especially if they have the ability to put away 60 grand, that's probably going to save them at least 20,000, if not more, off of their tax return. And so the government's giving you a big, big chunk of change. And when you do that for a few years in a row, it does not take long for you to become a millionaire. And then you can start getting into some really wild investment options and self-directed IRAs and all kinds of crazy stuff. But you can't do that until you actually implement and build the wealth outside your company.
Oh, that is totally 100% correct. And so let's use an example just for fun. So let's say you're a solopreneur out there and you're making, we'll just say $300,000 in revenues, and you're paying yourself a $100,000 W-2 salary. So you're an LLC, filing taxes as an S corporation. And let's just, for fun and games, to make the math even more fun, say you're over 50 years of age. Well, in the 2022 year, you could put $20,500 of your own money into the salary deferral of a solo 401k. You can then come in and put another $6,500 of catch-up contribution. So there's $27,000. And then you can do another 25% of that $100,000 W-2. For simple math, another $25,000. So in that example, you've got $52,500 into a solo 401k. If you paid yourself a higher W-2, you could then go all the way up and get close to that $60,000. And that's just a solo 401k that would allow you to do that. And if you are making that much money and you're in a 30% tax bracket, yeah, that's going to save you in the neighborhood of 20 grand.
Mm-hmm. Hey, question, the contribution that's the 25%, mm-hmm. Do you pay Social Security and Medicare on that portion?
No.
So you're saving another 15% right there.
Yes, because it's profit sharing contribution coming out of the corporate checkbook, which is then lowering the bottom line of the corporation, of your corporate return, which means it's above the line deduction, comes right off the top. The business, instead of making $325,000 for simple math in profit, it now made $300,000 in profit. That 25 comes right off. Now, there also is a SEP IRA. SEP IRA allows you to go all the way up into that 60,000 plus. And then the one I get really excited about, since we went down this road, is let's take that same 50 plus year old solopreneur making, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. And they say, I am just getting sick of the taxes I'm paying. Well, then, all right, let's layer in a defined benefit plan, which is the old school pension that we could bring in. Now, for a 50 plus year old person, you could put 100,000 into that. You can do more, you can do less, but you can even do around 100 grand. So if you take 100, now you can't max out the profit sharing plan. There's rules there, but without getting too technical, you're now going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of $130,000 to $140,000 that you could put away all pre-tax if you needed those deductions. All right, so now let's take you to that 30% tax rate at $140,000. What is that? $52,000 in tax savings. That's real money in tax savings, and you're $140,000 ahead towards retirement. And then the beautiful thing, if it's just in the stock market and call it the S&P 500, now the power of compound interest starts to come into play. And next thing you know, you're getting closer to retirement faster than you thought, or being able to make that retirement choice sooner than you thought. That's the beauty of that retirement planning. And the beauty is you're a solopreneur that we're explaining. When you're a solopreneur in that world, you don't have to give any money to anybody else. It's all going to your retirement account. It's a beautiful thing.
It is a very beautiful thing. And then if you retire early and you structure the sale of your company correctly, there are actually ways to unwind your IRAs and convert them over to Roth IRAs and pay very little in taxes if done appropriately. But in order to do all these things, you have to have a plan, which is where we started. You got to have a plan and a vision to create all of this so that you do it appropriately. And when you do, you have the opportunity to make a lot more money from the money you already made. So if people would like to learn more about you, your services, the book, and you've also got a podcast, tell us a little bit about all of that.
All right. So my website is GabeNelsonFinancial.com. If you want to learn more about me, the easiest thing to do is just go to the little about page. But if you want to learn more about what I do and how I help people, click on the Start Here button, and it will literally walk you through the client journey, the process that you go through of evaluating me and me evaluating you. Are we a good fit? In order to find my book, you would go to solopreneurmoney.com, and you can actually buy the book right there, as well as Amazon. And the book is called The Solopreneur's Money Manifesto. You can get that on Amazon. And then if you want to find me on social, the best way to find me on social is LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time. I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. Gabe Nelson CFP on Instagram. But the best way to find me, social media, would be LinkedIn, is where I spend most of the time. I also have Twitter, but the biggest place is LinkedIn. But those are the places to find me. And, if you buy the book on Amazon, please leave me a review. I'd appreciate that.
And we'll put that all in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Rocky. Thank you.
Do you have perfect customers, great cash flow, and the life you dreamed of? Have you even defined what it is? You can't have what you haven't imagined. So start the process. Figure this out for your life and your business. That was your dream, wasn't it? Let's be profitable so you have the space to do what you want. Fire bad customers and have fun. Remember, this is supposed to be fun. Remember, you don't need more resources. You need to be more resourceful. We focus on the bottom line. If you want a done-for-you service, you can have me as your Chief Profitability Officer, because you have your zone of genius and want to spend your time doing what you love. I only work with a handful of clients, so they get my full attention. I work with business owners who have or are growing to $500,000 to $5 million in revenue. You can use the scheduling link in the show notes to get on my calendar for a good fit conversation to see if I'm the right person to support you and how I can help you. If you want to learn about living the life of your dreams, check out my other podcast, Richer Soul. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have an abundant and profitable week.